The hardest thing about a power cut is how it affects just the everyday parts of being a family. I've got 3 young school-aged children, and the last big power cut for us was last Sunday, and we ended up being without power for 3 days. But the hardest part of that was that we didn't know when the power was going to come back on. Hi, I'm Katie, and this is Browra Heights. I've lived here for about 12 years, and I just had my 3rd power cut in 12 months.
Good evening. Tens of thousands of homes and businesses are still without power right across Sydney tonight as Ausgrid battles to fix its network battered by the weekend storm.
On Monday morning, there was still no power. I had to take the day off work. I work from home, so everything is done out of my home office where there was no power. But my children still had to go to school, and I had to pack their packed lunches. My freezer had just been stocked from the weekend, so I had to throw out everything from my freezer. Come Tuesday morning, when there was still no power, I had to take my children to my friend's house to make their packed lunches. We were quite lucky. We only had 3 days without power, but further south in some of the areas in Wesley and Thornley, they had 8 days with no power, and there was no known repair time from Ausgrid, and it was obviously a very complicated problem, but because no one knew how long it was going to last, we didn't really know how to prepare for it. I just wish that everyone in the community had better communication with the services like Ausgrid. They had so much traffic to their site for people trying to figure out when this power outage was going to end that the site just collapsed. You couldn't call Ausgrid on the phone. We had hold music for 30 to 40 minutes. Their Facebook page was inundated with so many requests because people understood that these repairs could be difficult and complex, but at the same time they needed to prepare their family and their businesses. We have a lot of home businesses here for what could potentially be up to a week's worth of no power.
So Katie's story is a story that's been repeated across Sydney, particularly northern Sydney, over the past few months. Repeated blackouts lasting days, even weeks on end. If you're trying to raise a family, if you're trying to run a business, just go about your day-to-day life. It is so difficult to do that without power for days and weeks. Why are we seeing this happen? Well, storms and power outages are a fact of life, but it is taking longer and longer to get the power switched back on. And we know that is because of this government's privatisation of our electricity assets. Maintenance staff are doing their absolute best, but they're cut to the bone. There is just not enough of them to get out there and get the power switched back on. We need Premier Gladys Berejiklian and local members like Matt Keane here in Hornsby to be honest with the community about the impact of electricity privatisation, not just on increasing power bills, but on maintenance staff and the fact that we are seeing blackouts lasting longer and longer, communities struggling to keep their families and businesses going without power. We need the government to be honest with the community about the impact of privatisation on our electricity network.